Consulting, expectations versus the reality. I'm here with Claire, who also is new to consulting, and obviously I've been here for like over 5 years. Claire, do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name's Claire. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about going from university to graduate life, specifically consulting at a big 4 firm. I'm very new to it. Kajol's the expert, so we're
Not the expert.
She's more of an expert than me. It's gonna be juicy.
What's the first topic that you were kind of surprised about?
Oh, we'll go straight in. We'll go travel, because I know people think about it. I'm not gonna lie, it was a big reason why I started doing it. So, and obviously with the current events.
The worst time to join consulting is now, guys. I'm so sorry.
I know. Oh my god, I literally did not travel. I didn't even meet anybody in person for like the first 6 months or so.
That's mad. Dubai came off red list, and then the next day I got permission to fly to Dubai. The day after I was in Dubai, man. It was great. And also in Barcelona.
I was just going to say, Kajol's been going everywhere. Kajol's got the Dubai project, the Barcelona. Listen, I'm here in London. This is travel for me. And I'm very, honestly, this is a perk of the job. Like, being able to travel to London, because I'm based in Edinburgh, like, that is a perk of the job. But
I'm so sorry.
it's not quite the New York trips and the Paris trips that I had in mind when I first joined consulting.
I mean, Paris is a shithole anyway, guys. You don't want to go Paris. I'm going to get cancelled for saying that.
It's fine. We move on. Do you think travel will ever go back to how it was, or do you think client companies will be less likely to pay for it now that we've figured out how to do it remotely?
I think they're going to pay less, but for the key things like key workshops or key board meetings they need support on, they'll ask us to go, because that's kind of what's happened on my client.
Right.
So key leadership offsites, I got asked to go to Barcelona for it. So it wasn't about rolling out something, it was just being there present for a key workshop. And also sometimes when you add value to your client, they will want you there by them, because it's just easier to work next to them a lot of the time as well.
I think from my point of view, it's very reassuring to see that you're still doing all the travel thing, because I was kind of like, when I joined in the worst time, I was kind of like, has consulting completely changed just as I got into it, and is travel no longer
then you saw me.
Happen? Yeah, exactly. So that was reassuring. Travel is still going to happen, because that was something that I wanted.
And it's really dependent on your client. If your client has offices in different countries, you're really likely to travel there. Like, actually, Deloitte UK has merged with Deloitte Middle East. So where I work, by the way, which is Deloitte, and that basically meant that I could travel to and go on to Deloitte Dubai projects, Dubai Saudi projects, and I could put myself forward for them. So it's really also dependent on your internal structure as well, if that makes sense.
Expectation was that there would be a lot of travel. My reality is that there has been no travel, except for the London trip, which I'm very grateful that I got to do.
I'm sorry. First class in train journeys.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I travelled first class for the first time. It was amazing. Anyway, we don't need to go into it.
I'm sorry, but business class trumps more on Emirates, man. I'm telling you, I was the dream. My first business class ever. I was like, the privilege. Travel's happening less and less, and compared to how hard we work, do the perks really make up for it, my friends?
Do they?
No. Not right now.
I meant that to be rhetorical, but... Topic number 2 is progression, and we're going to talk about the expectations of that and merit versus visibility for progression, because this for me was a big one, and this is quite a juicy one.
Tell us.
So, I joined fresh out of university, fresh from my grades at everything kind of attitude, and it turns out that in the corporate world, it's a lot based on who you know rather than what you know. And you've talked about this in a recent video, and I thought it was really true. Like, based on what I've been hearing, for progression, having like very senior people on your side and being known to them is, I don't want to say more important, but like, you're not going to get promoted without that. Obviously, you also need to be good at your job, but you're not going to get promoted without it.
Yeah, and there's this thing called PI, and it goes broken down by performance, image, and exposure. So we all think that, hey, your performance is what's going to make or break you, and you're going to get promoted because you do good work. But actually, for career success, it's been proven scientifically that performance only counts for, guess how much?
I don't want to know. What? Just tell me.
10%, my friends, 10%. And it's like 30% is your image and your reputation, sadly, and 60% is who you know.
Listen, my issue with this is I'm an introvert, okay? It is difficult for me, but I'm gonna have to do what I have to do.
It is really difficult. It's actually really sad to still think that is based on who you know to help you get promoted, rather than actually like, you know, your work, and your work doesn't really speak for itself in consulting.
To be fair, I think even as an introvert, there are ways to get around it without having to do a massive amount of socializing, because it's not like you have to know every partner, like you just have to know a few.
You need to know the partners which are going to be in your panel, or get managers to vouch for you to the partners in your panels.
Yeah. And I feel like it's easier to get to know, once you've been working with people on projects, like you don't necessarily have to be that person at a social who's like talking to everyone, or the person in a room who is speaking the loudest, although it does seem to be that gets people promoted.
It is sometimes. It's really sad. It's not always, it shouldn't be like that. It's one of the biggest things. I think it's not just consulting, it's the whole corporate culture I've seen. It's like whoever has the biggest voice often, you know, gets the most fame.
Right, and this is just our opinion from what we've seen in our personal experience. But that was something that really surprised me when I first joined.
Yeah, still here, still isn't changing.
So a big surprise is how important visibility is for career progression. That's not at all what I was expecting. Okay, topic number 3, which is a positive, and this is something that really pleasantly surprised me.
Turning it around now.
Yeah, this is something that really pleasantly surprised me, is the support you get. And everyone at Big 4 firms in consulting is incredibly supportive. No one is ever gonna turn you down if you want to like talk to them about something, if you've got questions. Everyone is always happy to answer your questions. Everyone gives support. Kajol reached out to me as soon as she heard that I was joining a Big 4 firm in consulting. I didn't even know you at this point. And she reached out. She's like, if you have any questions, if you need anything. No, it was so helpful. Like it genuinely meant a lot to me. And like just having people who have your back, and like it's not at all what I was expecting, because you see it in films, like people being really catty,
just, like,
and like
backstab you.
Stabbing each other in the back and like trying to get to the top of the ladder.
That happens, I'm not gonna lie.
It's not.
We're not all like that.
It's not that never happens, but like the general thing is nobody is ever gonna, if you have questions or if you want to put time in with someone, no one's ever gonna turn you down. Which that was a really good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's really surprising about, you know, corporate firms or Big 4 firms in consulting. We just kind of feel like it's going to drain your soul, the offices that we work in, or the people where you just kind of feel like they have no soul, because you always hear that they work really late. But actually, even if we work late, we have fun working late, you know?
Speaking of, that's another massive positive, is the socials. The socials, I was not expecting the socials.
I feel the opposite, though, I'm not gonna lie.
I've heard you talk about this before, and that's why I thought this would be a good one. Like my expectation, well, because I've never had a full-time job before working like Big 4 consulting, so I just didn't know what the standard was. And at university, there's no expense socials, so anything is good compared to what you have at university. But for me, like even just an evening of drinks where they pay for your drinks, I'm like, wow.
That's just kind of a standard in consulting. I'm so disappointed. Since the pandemic, socials have literally gone to shit. Like Christmas social was a virtual event. Like honestly, Christmas socials back in the day were popping, and now like even team socials, like the budget's just been really constrained. And my personal opinion is that I can't read. Oh God.
We're filming this in an office.
Yeah, so I'm trying to whisper this. My personal opinion is that these firms make so much more money because we work from home and less in the office, but they reduce our budgets for socials. Like, I just don't understand. You're not paying us more enough to compensate. That's my personal opinion.
She's said what she said.
You hear it straight on this channel.
She did not stutter.
Oh, I'm so gonna get fired.
No, it's so true. Like when I first joined, there were absolutely no socials at all, and it is harder to get to know. Like it's harder to feel like you're part of it if you're never meeting anyone, never having the socials to get to know people personally, as well as working with them. But no, generally I've been very happy with the socials. Good. I'll take what I'm given.
I'm glad you're happy.
Yeah. It's because my standards are so low.
Up the standards, girl.
But no, I was really pleasantly surprised by it. My expectations for socials were nothing. Yeah. And we have something.
Okay, good. Mine were like really high up because socials we had were amazing. I cannot disclose, and now they're like that. So.
Cannot disclose. That sounded so juicy.
Very juicy. Sadly, what happens in consulting stays in consulting, as they say.
Is that what they say?
No. Not on this channel.
All right, moving on.
I think we should go to the next expectation, which is
that the tech skills seem to be held more by the lower down people in the organisation, and the higher up people in the organisation are more sales and business focused. And this is just my opinion from what I've seen and experienced, which to be fair is not very long, but it seems to be that the highly technical people are lower down, and higher up the focus is on sales, like bringing in the money, basically.
And it's quite interesting because I think, especially the big four firms, the big corporate consulting firms, like a lot of these firms have this set structure where if you're not a manager or above, you can't sell work, you can't be put in front of the clients by yourself a lot of the time, right? But when you go to smaller consulting firms or what we call agencies, even if you're an analyst, you're still selling work to a client. So there's no sort of hierarchy. I feel like there's some sort of rigid hierarchy in bigger firms where if you're not this level, then you don't get to do the more business stuff, you know? And if you're a lower level, you need to do a little bit more of the groundwork.
Right.
Whereas a lot of the other firms I've seen, they kind of mix it all up.
Right. And the client relationships are a really big thing higher up.
Really big.
But lower down, you don't necessarily get that time in front of the clients.
So it's harder to develop them and learn that as well, and how to develop that as well. So I honestly do feel like that's one of the surprising things that I thought as well. I thought that, hey, it's almost like school, where like, when you go to school and you learn maths, right? But the maths isn't really going to help you.
Sorry, I did maths at university.
Yes, you did. Maths isn't really going to help you when you join your consulting firm.
It applies.
Well, it's the same thing, right? Like you do work as a junior consultant, but it's not really tied to you selling work later on. It helps because you have the knowledge, but it doesn't really help you with the skill set to sell work later on, which is what you're literally measured against.
Right, exactly. And I feel like you can get that by observation. And I think really good sort of senior people bring the junior people into meetings when that kind of thing happens, like just so we can see it happen. But it's true that it's not what I was expecting.
100%. You find yourself a good team, a good manager, a good leader, and tell them what you want to learn, and they will definitely bring you into those meetings.
Exactly.
You just need to shout what you want, basically.
Especially when you're working on the tech stuff, you don't have very much client contact. You're sort of behind the scenes doing all the tech work, and then the more senior people are the ones who have the overview of everything, and they're the ones talking to the client. And that being said, a lot of senior people do have really great tech skills. It's not like none of them do. But the focus is not there.
Yeah, the focus is more like the tech skills give them the knowledge to talk about technology, because a lot of the time you're selling the technology, but they're not using their coding skills to sell work.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen senior people like actually sit down and code anything.
Actually, in Deloitte Digital, where I work,
do they?
The partners actually help out with the code. It's like for the developing team, it's mad.
That is very different for me.
My one of my partners, who I loved and got poached by BCG, he was writing like 15-20 slides on PowerPoint on vendors and comparing vendors against each other and vendor criteria. So I think there's this really, I'm really digressing here, but there's this sort of divide now where you have partners who sell stuff, but partners who are known for their knowledge and doing actual work. And it's especially in Deloitte Digital, they're specifically hiring partners to do some of the work as well, because
obviously the selling is still
important,
like, part of the work.
Yeah. But it's just it builds credibility. That's the thing. It builds credibility that, hey, they're actually part of the team, and we know that the team is going to do well and do good work because the partner's doing it as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always very reassured when I hear the senior people getting into the technical stuff, because then I'm like, they really know, they've really been through what we're going through, like they've been through this part of it and they understand it, and then they've gone on and done the client relationships and all that. Whereas sometimes like someone might come in and you'd be like, they might be amazing at, they might have great business acumen, they might have the client relationships, amazing at sales, but if they don't actually understand what we're doing, how are they going to timeline it properly? How do they understand the amount of work we're putting in and what's realistic and what can be done?
Yeah, sometimes, the only bad thing about it is sometimes you can't bullshit to your partner then. They always catch us, don't worry.
I have never bullshitted to any partner.
I haven't either.
I swear on my life.
I swear on my life. I swear on my mom's life, guys. All right, next expectation.
Ooh, another one that I was surprised about is basically when you first join a Big Four consulting firm, you don't have a lot of choice about what you work on.
Yeah.
The work is sold, and if you're available, you're put on the project, and that's how it works. You can say that this is what you prefer, but until you build those relationships in the areas that you're interested in, and until they know you and start deliberately picking you for their projects, you get put wherever you're needed. And that's not what I thought, because I knew that in Big Four firms you have a ton of opportunity and variety, but I thought you had a say in what you do.
So you do have a say in what you do, but you only have a say in what you do when you find that opportunity for yourself. If you go, honestly, it depends on the resource manager. And most of the resource managers I've seen in the more formal side will put whoever they have on whatever they have. If a resource manager really cares about the development of someone, which my resource manager does, they will put you onto projects which you actually like doing, if that makes sense. But I know when I joined as an analyst, the first project you can't control, you just get put onto it.
Exactly.
I hated it. I hated what I was doing. So I knew 1 month before I was going to leave that project that I'm going to find something which I love, and I networked the hell out of what I could, just so I couldn't, so I could go on to a project which I liked. Now the issue is that when you're an analyst, a lot of people feel a bit shy to do that, and that's why you get pigeonholed and put onto projects which you don't like doing. But only you can change what you end up on. Really.
Exactly, yeah. And again, this is just our opinion
Yeah.
from our personal experience, which is not going to be the same as everyone.
No.
But while they do encourage you to say what you're interested in, and while they will put you there if they can, like often they can't, and resource managers will just like put you where you're needed.
Yeah, I think what was surprising is timing. I didn't realize how important timing is to your career, because certain projects that you may really want to go on, you think it's coming up, but hey, it might get delayed by 3 to 4 weeks because the client, has delayed it. But you can't just be sitting on your butt for 3 to 4 weeks. So you need to find something else, or they'll put you onto something else, right? So a lot of the time it's about timing, and if the stars don't align well, then you usually put on something which you don't like to do.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes there's a bit of like politics behind it, which I'm not going to get into because that's probably a whole video in itself. But like there are different types of work in consulting. There's like chargeable and non-chargeable, and like certain types of work get priority. So sometimes like it's just politics.
Yeah, which is really sad, because sometimes you have to fight for your development in your career, and I don't think it should be like that at all. So I think that's everything. Thanks so much for coming on the channel, Claire.
Thank you for having me.
Don't forget to subscribe to Claire. I'm going to link her somewhere around on here, and make sure you click subscribe to her channel.
And obviously subscribe to Kajol's channel if you haven't already. And this was my first ever collab video. I'm so excited to be on your channel.
I'm honoured you chose me.
I'm honoured that you chose me.
Well, don't forget to subscribe to both of us, and as always, we will see you next week. Bye.